Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Was a Saiyan? The Warrior Who Found Love in Another World Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. On Earth, it was a year since the entire Namek fiasco. The Namekians were sent back to their planet 4 months after it was destroyed by using their Dragon Balls, and the dead were brought back to life. Tien, Chaozu, Yamcha and Krillin, with the same method. They tried bringing Goku back after King Kai's explanation of his death, but after the dragon's explanation of him being alive, they tried a different wish, bringing both him and Naruto back to Earth, but by will alone. Both full-blooded Saiyans decided to stay a bit with Naruto's promise of arriving to Earth sooner than Goku for an appointment before leaving to train again. Many didn't know about the appointment since he had never been to Earth before, but one person knew and she had to wonder how he found out, and with the way her figure was changing, she would have to tell people soon. So you would imagine their shock when the group was informed about a pregnancy by Bulma 2 weeks later. After the wish and the father again was another shock. They, Yamcha, Krillin, couldn't believe that she was that careless, and some couldn't believe what a slut she was. Chi-Chi, who later got a dressing on how it looked like when she was a kid, throwing herself on Goku. Gohan was just happy to get a new cousin that he could have fun with though. 6 months after the Battle of Frieza, Naruto arrived Earth to see Bulma and explained what has been going on since they last saw. From arriving Yardrat to leaving Yardrat 3 months later and arriving in a place called Gikuto, a powerful meteor storm redirected his course, a planet that thrives in science and technology. Gikuto was a technologically advanced peaceful planet that gratefully welcomed Naruto just as the Yardrats did, and as he was given a tour of the place and liked it immediately, learning a few things on the way. It had some interesting facilities for him to train, like a space-time chamber where one can alter the gravity to however they want. Here they learn about different cultures in the universe as well, having sent a thing that they called a probe to monitor the entire galaxies, which included information on his race, the Saiyans, something he was grateful for since he learnt the part about the full moon. They also had really impressive weapons and promised to construct Naruto a new sword as a thank you gift for saving them from a threat, and as a sign of good faith in their race, they granted him permission to use the chamber as long as he wanted. There he honed his fighting style in key from the gift of knowledge he had from the creator. The fight with Frieza was won by years of experience and help from Goku. If none of these were available, he would have completely lost to Frieza, and created some key-related attacks once he figured out that the only moves he could use were Shadow Clone and a normal Rasengan without succumbing to the effects of exhaustion. He didn't know how the Rasenshuriken he used months earlier even worked, perhaps it was a key version. He also improved his speed and range of his Hiraishin, but it still couldn't teleport him halfway across the world without a maker, something he wished to fix, and due to an incident that happened at his time here, he was able to achieve the form his brother reached, the legendary Super Saiyan, though he wondered why his feral mode didn't work when he wanted to use it. And with this ability achieved, he trained even harder to make sure that he kept up with Goku. He stayed there for 3 months before promising to return, having to leave to see his mate who was currently pregnant, something Bulma was grateful for, though in her opinion, he should have come sooner, but in the end, he was happy to witness the birth of his newborn son, Kuma, named after his partner, Kurama, whom he missed. He still didn't know what happened to him, and when Kuma opened his eyes, Naruto was happy to see the pair of charcoal eyes staring back at him underneath those black bangs of hair, though he would have to do something about that tail. Kuma is a baby with hair exactly like his father and the black eyes that most Saiyans seem to have. He was also strong for a baby, having been birthed from a Jinchuriki, it is to be expected. For 6 months, he stayed at Earth in order to get familiar with his son before he told Bulma about the promise he made to the Gikutians and promised to get even stronger now he had a son to protect. He would be back a year later, though not wanting to be gone too long, and though Bulma wasn't happy about it, she accepted the reasons. So we are here 1 year later after Naruto's departure. We're currently in Capsule Corp. Krillin and Yamcha dropped by for a visit and were currently sitting on a balcony cosily talking with Bulma, Puar and Oolong. So Bulma, how does it feel like, having a baby? Oolong asked her as she sat down on the veranda with a sigh. Stressful, Bulma said, and with his father away, the job is even harder, but I'm lucky to have my mum and dad around to take care of my little prince for me if I'm not available. Speaking of Prince, ever wondered what happened to Vegeta? Yamcha asked. Yes, Vegeta, I forgot about him. Shortly after the Namekians left, Vegeta followed in a ship he stole. It was exactly like the one that Goku used to travel to Namek, but what he didn't know was that the fuel meter of the ship wasn't exactly full. But who would want to tell him that? I sure as hell won't. That bastard should be back soon since he's probably running out of fuel. Bulma said, and as if to cement her belief, a loud crash was heard, followed by an arrogant greeting. I'm back, bitches. Standing in front of the crashed ship with a spilling jug in one hand and a tray in another, a frightened Mrs. Briefs was sacred, having been nearly crushed by the ship in front of her, so her shaking body should be understandable, as should the tone in her voice. Sweetie, roll out the rug, I think we have a visitor. The hangar door of the pod opened and Vegeta walked out of the ship, only to meet the angry face of someone he never met before in his life. Hey, you've got a lot of nerve coming back here, Yamcha said to Vegeta, who just looked at him with a raised eyebrow. Oh look, a valet, Vegeta insulted, hope you don't accept tips. Shocked to the core, Yamcha asked, don't you remember who I am? He then was frustrated, we fought when you landed on Earth. No, I fought Kakarot and Nappa fought the rest. Except for that one screw-up who got killed by a Saba. Oh giggle, Vegeta was laughing with his knee on the ground, banging on the pavement with his fist. Oh yeah, I dare you to come and laugh in front of me. Vegeta appeared in front of the shocked and scared Yamcha and said 2 words with a serious face. Ha ha, yeah, see how we can now laugh together. Yamcha nervously started to chuckle at his statement, still shaking from the amount of fear he emitted while facing Vegeta. Okay, seriously, we have a lot to clean up without a pull of Yamcha's urine. Bulma interrupted and she walked to Vegeta, poking him on the chest. You, come with me. Why? Because you need a shower. I could smell you all the way from East City. It was a grumbling Vegeta that walked with Bulma, who had a smug look on her face as she tamed the so-called Prince of all Saiyans, while Yamcha sighed in relief. Later, there are some new clothes for you outside the door, Bulma announced to the Saiyan who was taking a shower in her guest bathroom. She will definitely not let him use both hers and Naruto's private bathroom. Naruto moved in days after he arrived Earth. Your armor is being washed in the meantime. Be careful with those, they are dry clean only. Vegeta called back. Whatever, Bulma said as she soaked the dirty clothes. They smell as bad as Kuma's diapers, she thought with a disgusted look on her face. Walking outside, Krillin couldn't help but ask, so, Vegeta's living here now? The man single-handedly is responsible for most of the entire gang is taking shower in the other room. Yamcha blandly stated to Bulma, who just waved away their worries. Earth woman, where's my cleansing powder? Vegeta demanded from the shower. We don't have that here, we have soap. Bulma replied. What the hell is soap? It's that yellow block there made of animal fat. That sounds awesome. Chomp spits it out. It tastes nothing that you just said. Okay, I changed my mind, this is pretty good. Yamcha laughed at Vegeta's falling, but too bad for him, Vegeta had a comeback. It's that the beta male? He asked. No, Krillin just got here. Bulma answered. Oh god, they're breeding. If there's one thing that could make this worse is the color pink. Quote. Silence. RAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAGGGGGGGHHHH. In the outskirts of space, a flying saucer was making its way towards the unsuspecting warriors of Earth with one goal in mind: revenge. Frieza, one of its occupants, looked through the outskirts of space, seeing the planet of the warrior that defeated him. It was only through luck and technology that they were able to restore the cells of Frieza, and he was lucky that his body was intact after the explosion, else he would look like a mess. Beside him was his father, Lord Cold, sitting on a throne twirling wine in a wine glass as he spoke. "There it is, the home of the brute that harmed my darling little angel." "Yes, Daddy," Frieza replied. "What a pretty little blue pearl. What was its name again?" Earth. "Actually it's pronounced Earth, Daddy." "Really? But there's an A in it," King Cold said. "I'm just going to keep calling it Earth. It doesn't really matter anyway. Soon it would have a brand new name, Vacant Lot. On Earth, Sunovabitch." Vegeta cursed the gods at this new development. "What? Still pissed about the shirt?" Yamcha asked Vegeta as the Saiyan punched the table, causing the glass to drop. "No, why yes, I'm actually livid, but that's beside the point," Vegeta said. "Those idiots failed. Frieza is still alive." At the same time, "Xiaosu, do you feel that?" Tien asked his little friend. "There are two enormous power levels approaching the planet." "Yeah, see, last time this happened, I blew myself up," Xiaosu explained. "Yeah, I was going to ask you to hold off on that." With Piccolo. Piccolo was training in the Glazers when he felt the enormous power levels heading towards Earth. He looked up and narrowed his eyes in thought. "Yikes, better hope we all are prepared for this." Somewhere else. "Oh God, Gohan, it's him," a scared Krillin warned in panic to his friend from the other end of the phone. Krillin calmed down. Gohan said, "Now are you sure it's him?" "Gohan, when you have a man inside of you, you know when he's coming." Krillin replied. "Mom, where's my Saiyan suit?" Gohan called to his mother as he dropped the phone, and at the same time, "Woman, where's my Saiyan suit?" Vegeta asked, demanded from Bulma. "It's under your bed, it's in the wash." Both women answered from their respective homes simultaneously. "Thank you, you bitch," Half Saiyan and Saiyan Prince retorted. With their respective tasks done or interrupted, all fighters rushed out of their respective shelters and flew to where they felt Frieza would land, and all arrived at the same time coincidentally. Judging by how quickly his power level is closing in, he should be here in about 3 minutes. Vegeta estimated. The warriors were shocked when they saw that Bulma arrived in a ship. What was she doing here? "Hey guys, he's coming," Piccolo said from above them as he felt the power level enter the Earth's atmosphere before it docked a few feet in front of them. "So has anyone noticed that there are two power levels around the same strength in that ship?" Krillin pointed out. "Poor guy. What he doesn't know is that King Cold's current first form is equal to Frieza's 50% full power, so King Cold, by estimate, should he reach full strength, will be stronger than Frieza." "Yeah, it's probably his dad." "He has a dad?" Yamcha asked. "Makes sense. So essentially we have two opponents of seemingly equal strength that my dad and uncle beat after fulfilling an ancient prophecy. What exactly is our course of action here?" Gohan theorized. "We don't need Kakarot or anyone else," Vegeta stated in a moment of pride. "You have enough bad Saiyan as it is. Now if you'll excuse me." Vegeta took off in flight to the area Frieza landed, prompting the others to follow his lead for the meantime, though Yamcha had to carry Bulma, whom he was saying how careless she was being because of how her child might be motherless. "Oh my, this is droll," Frieza said as he and his father came out of the ship. "We're so far out into space that there's not even a space Radio Shack or space Best Buy. But I won't lie, Daddy, I'm absolutely ecstatic." Frieza continued. "When those filthy monkeys return to this planet, they will return not to the smiling faces of his dear friends, but a total unadulterated genocide. Speaking of which, turning to his troops behind him as they came off the ship: soldiers, the scavenger hunt will proceed as such. Normal human heads are worth 1 point, Namekian heads are worth 20, filthy half Saiyans are worth 50, and if you find any disgusting full-blooded monkey, you win. Yes, sir, the troops answered, but before they could leave the area, they were cut up by a sword belonging to one of those that killed him, and Frieza couldn't help but growl as he saw the body that landed on the ground with a crouch in his right hand, which was holding the sword extended, and his left holding the sheath on his hip. Looking back at Frieza with purple eyes was none other than Uzumaki Naruto, who just got back from his little trip hoping to meet his brother before anyone else. Naruto still had his hairstyle that was black and spiky all over, and his trademark whiskers were all but gone from his face. His stature looked more pronounced, like he added more muscle mass, more than Vegeta, less than Tien, and his outfit wasn't that bad either. He wore a black short-sleeve innerwear with a pair of red-orange trousers that had a thick black line split in the middle of the legs. Over the outfit he wore a full-length red-orange high-collar haori that had 3 holes near the bottom that only added to the fashion, and on the shoulder of the haori on both sides were circles that had its entire area colored in black, and over the circle was an outline of a circle on both sides as well, and along the outline was a straight line on his back and front that connected both circles, and on both arms of the haori a thick line was drawn on the middle starting from the circle to the sleeve. His collars had 3 black magatamas on each side, and on the neck of his black short-sleeved shirt were 6 gray magatamas. The hip of his trousers is where his headband stood proudly, and where his sword will be kept should he plan on using it. He also wore blue shinobi sandals and a pair of red shinobi gloves with a silver faceplate on the knuckles. Naruto is wearing a clothed version of his tailed beast mode in memory of Kurama, who will return, but I won't tell when, and from now, that will be his outfit. With a cling, Naruto sheathed his sword and asked, "How much was that worth?" With the group, "All right, Frieza's just over this next formation, and what we need is a plan," Vegeta said, and he looked back at the group. "Now all of you will attack from the front, and when you're being slaughtered, I'll flank him, taking him from behind and securing the kill. Ready, break." No. Yeah. No. Piccolo and Tien wholeheartedly disagreed with this formation, but Yamcha had other plans. "Personally, I don't think Bulma should be here. A battlefield is no place for a lady. And yet you're sticking around." "I'm serious. I worry about her safety, and as her close personal friend, possibly even bestie, I think we need to consider." "Yamcha, I'm married," Bulma blandly stated, causing sniggering among the group at the way she silenced him. With Naruto. "So is this him, sweetie? Is this the man who hurt you so?" Lord Cold asked his son, who growled an affirmative. "I don't know what's worse, the fact that you're a sore loser, or the fact you cried home to daddy once you didn't get your way." Grr. Frieza growled and ordered in a fit of anger, briefly forgetting whom he was dealing with, "Get him." The troops charged at Naruto, who was standing straight with his haori bellowing along the wind and his collar covering half of his face. He watched as they were drawing closer, then he made his move. He bent his knee forward and appeared behind the group of soldiers, right arm stretched diagonally upwards, with a burst of speed and in the blink of a normal eye. Giving his sword a 540-degree spin, he sheathed it just as the soldiers turned around, and as the hilt of the sword hit the top of the sheath with a cling just as before, the soldiers all dropped down dead to the ground in front of a surprised Frieza. "What just happened?" Frieza asked. "Yeah, it took me a whole 3 months to get that one down, but who's counting?" Naruto said, closing his eyes with a shrug of his shoulders. "Honestly, I was expecting my brother to be the one doing this, but instead I now have to take his place. But if I have to make the world safer for my children, who's complaining?" Calming down, Frieza took a deep breath. "I almost lost it there for a bit," he said, "and you said something about a brother. That wouldn't have to be the Super Saiyan who fought with you now, would it?" "Now see, here's where I'm confused. You haven't seen what a Super Saiyan looks like. Heck, even I transformed there as well and was as powerful as Goku. My transformation could be the so-called Super Saiyan, but did anybody ask? No. Believe me when I say this, monkey, you are no Super Saiyan. Frieza stated with a serious look on his face. Naruto tsked and said, if it's a Super Saiyan you want, then it's a Super Saiyan you'll get. Before he took the horse stance. Ha ha. Very funny, monkey, you most definitely aren't a Super Saiyan. Frieza dismissed. I know the feeling, and what I felt from that monkey was. Ha. Frieza was interrupted by a yell and a loud explosion of power, and looking back at him was Naruto, whose black spiky hair turned golden and was now standing straight on end, giving it a rising flame-like appearance. If one were to see his tail, it would be in the same gold color as well, but what gave him away was the aura he was putting out. Standing in proudly front of Frieza was one Uzumaki Naruto, a Super Saiyan like his brother before him and unknown to the rest, something more. Gee! Those eyes, Frieza stammered as the eyes triggered a picture in his mind that was enough to make the fear turn into rage, causing him to rise up in the air with his index finger pointed to the sky. I'll make you pay, he yelled, gathering his energy in the form of a giant yellow-orange, sun-like energy sphere. Once it was charged up to half the size Earth's moon, Frieza threw it at Naruto, who just stood there with his cloak bellowing along the wind, waiting for the move to hit him, while Frieza laughed insanely as the attack hit before he landed next to his father, who looked at him in disappointment. As he was walking to his father, he froze when he felt the attack begin to rise up from the earth, meaning only one thing. No, he growled, watching Naruto walk out from the crater with the attack over his head and a frown on his face as opposed to the smirk that formed on his lips. Hey Frieza, looks like you just dropped the ball. Boom. The attack exploded over Naruto's head when a foreign energy attack entered, invaded the synchronization of energy, causing Frieza to smile in satisfaction. That's one monkey down, Frieza said to his father, who was still disappointed at the amount of destruction. You almost destroyed the whole planet there. King Cold scolded his son, who sheepishly scratched the back of his head, apologizing to his father, all the while ignoring the figure that emerged on a mountain a few feet away from them. Naruto just looked on below him as the two kept on talking, while at the same time ignoring his presence, making him a bit peeved. Raising his right hand, making it take the shape of a pistol, he aimed the ground and charged up a red energy attack. Hey Frieza, he called out, causing Frieza and his father to look at his position in shock, wondering how he survived the attack. Harishan, dodge. And with that, he fired a small green energy attack at his intended target, causing Frieza and his father to jump away before they were hit, giving Naruto the opening he wanted. Naruto flashed to where Frieza was with his sword drawn, and Frieza noticed it glowing red, but he had no time to ponder what that strange phenomenon was, as he was sliced into pieces and before the pieces exploded into oblivion. The fighters watched as Naruto spun his sword in a 540 spin before he sheathed it, and it was then Gohan spoke. Guys, I think that person is a Super Saiyan. Like hell he is, Vegeta denied. Spiky gold hair, incredible aura, Krillin observed, but Vegeta was stubborn. You don't know that he is a Super Saiyan, maybe he's superhuman, huh? Vegeta then growled. Maybe you slackers just haven't been trying hard enough, says the non-Super Saiyan. Tien retorted. Off. And with that, Vegeta flew to the team that arrived. Don't forget, Naruto is around 18 at this point in the story, so he should a few years older than Mirai Trunks. Back to Naruto. He and Cold landed opposite each other, with Cold growling at him. You murdered my son, he whispered in a fit of rage before he calmed down and smiled. Oh well, you win some, you lose some. Children, Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Yeah, you disgust me, Naruto said before he appeared behind Cold with his palm on the alien's back. Cold was too shocked at his speed to do anything, and he felt his entire body being restrained by something, I'm a father and I am disgusted to be in another father's presence if the father is anything like you. A red beam was fired through the alien's chest, sending the self-proclaimed king crashing into the mountain wall in front of them. He charged up the same red beam again but added more power before he shot it at the barely breathing king cold, causing the body to explode. Naruto turned and shot the beam at his enemy's ship, causing it to implode before he took a deep breath, releasing his Super Saiyan state, entering his base form, dismissing the flame-like aura around him. Jumping slightly before sitting in a meditative pose on the air, Naruto rested his sword on his lap before closing his eyes and frowning, using his emotion sensing technique to scope out something he felt before. In one area, he knew that there was a group waiting to greet him with emotions ranging from curiosity to rage, and in a few feet behind him was an emotion, surprise. This person was clever, hiding his power level to near non-existent, but that didn't mean he hid his emotions. Tilting his head 90 degrees to the left, he said, "You may be good at hiding your energy, but I can still sense your emotions." The others were confused with what Naruto said, that is, until Piccolo heard a chuckle with his senses and they all saw a silhouette of a male floating out from a few feet in front of them before landing behind Naruto. Behind Naruto was a 17-year-old male that is muscular, a bit taller than Goku and more slender. He has blue eyes and straight, light purple hair, which he inherited from his unknown mother, which was cut short, only reaching the middle of his ears. He is seen wearing a pair of golden boots, gray pants, a black tank top, and an Indigo Capsule Corporation jacket. "I'm curious as to who you are and why you smell a lot like Bulma," Naruto said to the kid, who looked surprised a bit before he remained calm and spoke. "I would love to answer your questions, but to do that I will need Son Goku to be around first." "Goku?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. "He'll be here in approximately 3 hours depending on the speed of the ship he's using. I even sensed him on the way here, but I was going to let him take his time." "Why?" the teen asked. "You could have invited him for a ride on your ship." "My ship is a one-person ship. It doesn't have the equipment to accommodate 2 people." Naruto explained, and that seemed to satisfy the teen. "Do you know the area he'll land in?" the teen asked Naruto, who shook his head. "I do. Follow me, we'll meet him together as I have something for you too." As he turned around, he glanced back at Naruto. "You might want to invite your friends for refreshments though, I've got a lot." With that, the teen flew away from Naruto, prompting him to sigh at this. He looked back and waved to the group to follow him before he himself followed the teen, still in his meditative pose as he was flying. 3 hours later. The past 3 hours were lively at first before it got dull later on. Vegeta demanded to Naruto into telling him how he achieved the legend like Kakarot did, but Naruto politely declined for obvious reasons. Vegeta was the last thing on Naruto's mind, and the first on his mind was how Kuma was doing, and information like that was at the hands of either Bulma or Gohan, whom both told him that Kuma was fine. He was already in the process of learning how to walk, and when Naruto asked where he was replied with a satisfied answer. He then told Bulma about what he learned in the place he stayed for the remaining year and promised that he would be there for both his son and her from now, and if not him then his clone or someone he trusted, something that Bulma appreciated and wanted to reward later on if he continued to behave in a positive light. Tien and Chaozu were on their own while Piccolo listened to the conversation from afar using his super hearing before he tuned it, while Vegeta was silently fuming at the disrespect Naruto gave him. The mysterious teen on the other hand kept shooting glances at Bulma and Naruto, something Naruto figured out but did nothing about it, knowing he was going to get his questions answered soon, and soon was when the watch on the teen's wrist started beeping, signaling them that 3 hours were up. "Okay. Goku should be here pretty soon." "Okay. I think this has gone on long enough," Vegeta said, speaking to Trunks. "Who are you and how do you know Kakarot when you've never met him before? If you'll just implore patience, I promise you, your questions will be answered." Trunks tried to pacify the Saiyan prince, but that wasn't needed as a loud crash signified the landing of a ship that just landed. Oh, so he finally decides to show up, Naruto said beside Bulma, who slapped his hand at that before pulling him to greet Goku with her. As they all reached the edge of the crater, most were excited to see Goku and some were curious while the rest didn't care, but each watched as the hatch from the space pod opened and Goku revealed himself to the crew and was surprised at the welcoming party. "How did you guys know where I'd land?" Goku asked his friends as they were cheering for his return. "You can thank the kid over there who still hasn't told us his name," Naruto said, pointing to Trunks with his free hand while Bulma was still latched on the other. "I knew that you would arrive soon, but didn't know exactly where you will land." "Oh hey Naruto," Goku greeted. "I knew I felt you somewhere. Did you happen to pass by my ship?" "Yes I did, if feeling your moving energy was anything to go by," Naruto said, answering his brother's question. "And I'm guessing that you're the one that got rid of Frieza?" Goku asked, curious as to that as well. "Obviously," Naruto said. "Apparently he survived my technique that is meant to shatter any cells in the human body, rendering it from functioning properly." "Did you ever stop to think that Frieza isn't human?" Bulma asked Naruto, who held his chin in thought. "Good question," Naruto said. "Need to do something about that then." "Sorry to interrupt this conversation," the team spoke out, interrupting Naruto, Goku and Bulma's conversation, "but could I talk to the two guys privately?" "Anything you can tell me, you can tell Bulma," Naruto said. "I'm sure excluding her from this conversation isn't a smart thing to do." "Look, I'm running on a timed schedule here," the team said. "You can tell her what we talked about later, but not where others can hear you." "Fine," Naruto relented, much to Bulma's shock. "But, it's all right, I'll talk to you when we get home." Bulma hesitantly let go of his hands before huffing, prompting Naruto to chuckle a bit before following the teen and leaving the area with Goku to arrive someplace secure. Now that they were in a safe distance, the team landed and introduced himself as the other two lands as well. "Nice to meet you both," he said. "My name is Trunks." "Trunks, huh?" Naruto said. "Definitely Bulma's kid if the name is anything to go by, along with the scent." "Wait, he's Bulma's kid?" Goku asked, confused. "But he looks as old as you, so unless Bulma had a kid at 15 I don't see that happening." "Actually, while that is possible, another explanation could be this," Naruto started before looking at Trunks with a serious look. "He's a temporal anomaly." "Time anomaly." Goku tried to make sense of what he said. "I'm surprised that you were able to make out time in what I said," Naruto said. "Anyways, a temporal anomaly is a disruption in the space-time continuum which can be related to time travel." "So he's a time traveler?" Goku asked. "Possibly," Naruto said before looking at Trunks, who was surprised at his secret being causally exposed. "All right, you got me," Trunks said. "I would have asked for you to show me if you were a Super Saiyan, but I think I don't need to do that, so I guess I'll just have to warn you." "Oh, but first," Trunks reached out into his pocket and brought out a scroll with a seal on it before he handed it to Naruto, who took it with a cautious look on his face before he noticed that Trunks turned serious, prompting him to place the scroll in his cloak. 3 years from now, on the 12th of May at approximately 10 a.m. on an island 9 miles off South City, two creatures will appear, a pair of man-made monstrosities, half human, half machine, crafted by a mad scientist from the deep fangs of Red Ribbon Army. "Androids?" Goku asked Trunks, who nodded but went on to continue his tale. "Each of them on their own dwarf even Frieza in their power scale, and that was enough for them to kill the Z warriors Tien, Chaozu, Yamcha, Vegeta, Krillin and Piccolo. The only ones that survive are my family and Gohan." "Oh wow, wait, you didn't mention me. I don't know how to tell you this, but you didn't make into the battle either. You die of heart failure the year before, and Naruto, who was taking care of you, nearly lost it because he felt that he wasn't good enough if he couldn't take care of his brother." Trunks said. If it wasn't for Mum, he would have gone down the deep end, so in your place he took care of both androids and has begun to seriously train his two children, though he did say something about going to Namek to use the Dragon Balls there. Trunks said the last sentence in an afterthought before he reached into his pocket and picked out a vial and handed it to Goku. Here, this is the antidote for the virus that you will eventually get, my mum made it. Thanks, Goku said as he collected it while Naruto was still trying to figure out who this boy really is before he got a glance of the sword on his back. That sword, well, my time is up, but promise me that you'll keep the origins of my birth a secret. Trunks interrupted Naruto before he could say anything. We will, Naruto said with a smile, finally figuring out why he couldn't have a cent on the other half of Trunks' percentage. Take care of yourself, kid. I will, Trunks said before turning. Even though the androids do get defeated in the future, I hope that the casualties will reduce this time around. He then turned and took off in flight with a final greeting, until we meet again. Naruto watched as the team left before he took the scroll that he was given, ignoring that Goku went to probably tell them about the warning. Opening it, he read, N.U. What happens to the Biju sealed when a Jinchuriki dies? N.B. Quote. Naruto felt like an idiot for not realizing this sooner, and he was so lost in thought. He nearly missed Bulma calling him, which was what snapped him back to reality before he went over to her. These next few years are going to be a wild one, that is certain. So what do you think? How ready do you think we are to take on the androids? Piccolo asked as he was flying with Goku and Gohan beside him. On a scale of 1 to 10, my chest hurts, Goku said beside Piccolo before he quickly changed the last statement, at 7 right. Spotting someone flying, Gohan informed his dad and Piccolo about this. Hey look, it's Krillin. He turned back to Krillin flying and called out, Hey Krillin. Oh hey Gohan. Krillin called back to his little friend. You've barely grown since the last time I saw you, huh? It's funny, I think that every time I see you. Goku said to Krillin, who sighed in frustration at what his Saiyan-blooded best friend said. 3 years ago, the gang was informed by Naruto about the threat that they were going to face, something that made them have a small amount of fear, so to prevent this, they each decided to train in the 3-year gap. Naruto was about to train as well, but Bulma wasn't going to allow that, seeing as he needed to spend time with his baby boy and help take care of him, something he reluctantly agreed to only after remembering that he was the one that took care of the androids in the future. So for him, there was nothing to worry about, but that didn't stop him from training in secret, especially having perfected the Super Saiyan transformation back at Gekido, where he reached a level that Goku isn't even close to yet. The full power Super Saiyan state, one where a Saiyan has a mental and physical perfection of the Super Saiyan state. He was able to remain a Super Saiyan for 3 days while doing normal activities with his son, and when Bulma asked him what was going on, he just replied by saying training, and if the rest of the fighters haven't responded to the power output, it meant that his power base is how he wants it to be when in Super Saiyan state 0, like when he's in his natural state. The Z fighters didn't know this, especially Vegeta, who wanted so badly to gain the legend like his fellow Saiyans, and he was going to keep it that way until he felt that it was necessary to reveal it, and it was through this he guessed how he was able to beat the androids in the future when other Saiyans like Vegeta didn't, and when his son enters the tender age at 5, he will begin training him. Goku on several occasions wanted to spar with Naruto, but Bulma on several occasions intercepted the request because they both had a son to take care of, something that Goku could show sympathy to when his eyes caught Naruto's, remembering how demanding Chi-Chi was when Gohan was born, so he let the matter drop, knowing that Bulma wouldn't go down without a fight. But he did have some family visits to get to know his nephew and Gohan's cousin, and while there he decided to train with Piccolo instead, who will also mentor Gohan as well, something he'll take part in. 4 years into Kuma's birth, Bulma gave birth to another baby boy who she decided to name this time because Naruto had the honor of naming their firstborn, and surprise surprise, he was named Trunks Briefs, something Naruto somewhat predicted after seeing the eyes of his second son followed by the hair. Bulma cut of Trunks' tail before Naruto could protest because she couldn't think of a good reason for leaving the tail where it was on both their children, but Naruto thought that this was fair because he fought vehemently about not having Kuma's tail removed. Naruto, feeling that he was leeching off Bulma's parents, decided to do something about it and build a house of his own, or if not then buy one, but the question was where to get the money from, and luckily he found a clipping about the World Martial Arts tournaments and the amount of money for the winner. Something he needed, so he figured that while his wife was away, he would create a clone and reinforce it with the last of his chakra with seals, knowing that he had a lot of ki to spare, and much to his shock, the clone was able to last the entire tournament and win the grand prize, something he used to buy a house that's not too far away from Capsule Corp, and he asked Bulma to move in with him once everything was set, and he was quite shocked to know that he had enough money left after he arranged the house he bought with his winnings, so he opened a joint account with Bulma and put it there. Back to current times, Gohan noticed something. Hey, that must be the island, he said to the group of people behind him, making them increase their speed, having finally reached their destination. Looking down from the sky, Krillin saw a lot of plots and houses that were on the island, and he was the one to voice out the thought of the other fighters. Holy crap, this city is huge. And the island is so tiny, Gohan said, also noticing it. What do you think they do here? Apparently prostitution is legal, Krillin commented, much to the disgust of the fighters around him. Hey guys, down here, a voice shouted out to the group as they were landing on the ground, answering to their friend's call, and were glad to know it was Yamcha and Tien that they found. Hey Yamcha, Tien, Bulma, Krillin called out until he saw the baby that Bulma was carrying. Bulma, you have another baby? He asked. You're damn right, she proudly said, much to the annoyance of Yamcha, who should have by now gotten over his jealousy of Naruto. His name is Trunks, Bulma told the group, and Goku came making cooing noises at his little nephew. Who's a good little boy? He said, poking him in the nose, and little Trunks had to hide his face in his mother's bosom. So then, where's Daddy? Piccolo asked Bulma, who had a finger scratching her chin in thought before she answered. He was with little Kuma last time I saw him, Bulma said before frowning. I hope he's not teaching the little boy some martial arts, because if he is, somewhere in West City. Okay Kuma, that's enough, Naruto said, looking at his 4-year-old son as he was helping his son get his body used to the monkey kata. Kuma, now 4 years old, wearing a pair of black sweatpants along with a pair of fingerless opera-length black gloves wrapped in studded red-brown leather straps on each arm, with weight seals, with his tail wrapped around his waist, crossed his hands and pouted at his father's request. Ah, but Dad, I want to practice some more. Now son, we won't want your mother finding out about this. Suddenly, Naruto felt a shiver going through his spine before looking up to the sky, causing confusion to appear in his son's purple eyes. Is something wrong, Dad? I sense a disturbance in the force, Naruto replied, much to his son's growing confusion, but he wasn't one to question the awesomeness of his dad. Back to the fighters. Well, on the plus side, your boobs look amazing, Krillin commented. Krillin, what would Marin say? Bulma blandly asked Krillin, who just looked at her as she said that. Marin never left Krillin in my story, and here, they are still going out, and she got more mature as the years went by. Bulma just huffed and replied to her own question, I thought so. Incoming, Tien said as he spotted a vehicle heading his way with Yajirobe driving it, and as he landed, Goku spoke in surprise. Oh wow, Yajirobe, I can't believe it. You came all this way to help us fight the... Yeah, no, Korin sent me. Yajirobe cut off Goku before bringing out a sack of beans. Take your beans. He then entered his car. Bean Daddy out. He drove off, leaving the fighters watching his retreating back as he was driving, not noticing the projectile heading his way until he was hit and managed to mutter an "Oh crap" before he was falling, and the Z fighters could do nothing but watch. Goku could have used instant transmission to stop him from falling, but did he? And they were surprised as a red-orange flash appeared underneath the car and two figures were seen in the distance, one carrying the car and the smaller one carrying the body as they flew towards the fighters. It was Naruto and Kuma, much to Bulma's shock and annoyance. "I thought I told you that Kuma isn't going to fight these monsters." Bulma angrily scolded her husband as he landed, "But here I see you and our flying son heading towards doing the exact opposite." "Hee hee. Hey Bulma," Naruto greeted, scratching the back of his head. "I decided to teach Kuma how to fly so it would be easier for us to move about and for him to carry something as heavy as Yajirobe. You have to admit he does have an impressive amount of strength." "That doesn't answer my question," Bulma shouted. "What is he doing here?" "Take it easy, Mom. I'm here to take Trunks to Grandma and Grandpa," Kuma said as he dropped Yajirobe before greeting his cousin and friends. "Hey guys." "Hey Kuma." "Hey cuz." They all greeted before Bulma decided to give him baby Trunks, who started giggling as his big brother held him and started making cooing sounds. "That's so cute," Bulma cooed, looking at her two children playing together before looking at Naruto, who was talking with Goku. Naruto still wore the outfit he had when he fought Frieza, while Kuma just had on a black gi similar to Goku's orange gi with a red long sleeve muscle underneath. "Aren't you guys forgetting something?" Bulma asked as she pointed to the watch on her wrist. "Oh right, the androids," Goku suddenly remembered. "I saw them head down the city," Tien told the group, and Goku gave Bulma the senzu beans with a serious look on his face. "Keep them. They'll only weigh us down," he said to her before turning to the group that included himself, Naruto, Tien, Yamcha, Krillin, Piccolo, and Gohan, and said, "Okay, we can't sense their energy, that's a certainty, so the best thing to do is to search every inch of the city and hopefully smoke them out. Scatter." And with that, all adults except Gohan, who decided that it would be best to remain left to search for the androids. Meanwhile, two figures just landed on the ground, calmly ignoring the busy activity around them. The first one led the small trek, followed by the second. They were walking until they reached the hearing limits of two men in the middle of the conversation, and one of them, noticing them, turned around and asked a question that the two had no interest in answering. "What do you think, inconspicuous old man and mime?" the blonde man with a mustache asked the two. The fat one just walked quickly to the man that asked the question, looking at the blonde with a straight face. "Whoa whoa whoa," the blonde said as the mime-like guy entered his personal space. "If that's what you're looking for, it's gonna be $30 an hour." The mime-like guy just stared at him before he head-butted the blonde and followed up with a left hook to the guy's friend, knocking them both out, while the old man watched, ignoring the horning car in front of him. The driver, angry at this, called out to the man that refused to move out of the way, "Hey you idiot, move out of the way." The man on the road walked forward before punching the bonnet of the car, smashing through it and grabbing the engine before pulling it out of the car, while the driver still looked at him in fear as he dropped the engine and walked to him. "Please put that back, I kind of need that to flee from you." Ignoring the request, the driver was grabbed by his neck and his head was smashed through the roof of the car, prompting a nearby passerby female to scream at the sight in terror, hoping someone would come and help. Yamcha, who was searching for the androids, heard the scream and shook in panic. "Oh man, that was close. I'm sure that someone else heard it, right? I mean, I don't have to scream, this isn't fair." He rushed to the scene of the crime and saw dead or knocked out bodies of civilians and started panicking. "Oh god, oh man, oh geez, oh crap." What he didn't know was that he was being monitored by the beings he was looking for right up the sky above his head. 19. Identify. The mime-looking man, now identified as number 19, had his eyes beeping red before his programming identified the man that they were inspecting, and he spoke in a robotic voice. Orange jumpsuit, black spiky hair, Higher than average power level, Son Goku, 94%. I don't remember him having a scar. The old man commented to his creation that immediately adjusted his findings. 87%. Close enough. Landing behind the man known as Son Goku, the old man grabbed his face and lifted the body up with impressive strength that was nothing to him for his age, ignoring the truck that turned from his direction in a state of panic, crashing into the fuel station that was nearby. He spoke to the man he identified as Goku. Now, Son Goku, I shall extract my long-awaited revenge forthwith, he said, and he heard the muffling sound that came from the man he held hostage, screaming something like, "I'm not Goku." Something of course he ignored as he stabbed the Goku with his hand through his lung, sparing the hostage a few minutes of life, something that the Z warriors arrived to thanks to the obvious power drainage. "Oh come on, really man," Tien said, frustrated at what he saw. "You couldn't last like 30 seconds. We seem to have company," the old man said, and a beeping sound was heard from his creation beside him before he heard its analysis. Correction. New target identified as Son Goku, 100% match. "Well then, looks like I don't need this anymore," the old man said as he tossed the body of whom he previously thought was Goku to the ground. "Oh no, Yamcha's been Yamcha'd," Goku exclaimed in shock before turning to Krillin. "Quick Krillin, give him a Senzu bean." "Goku," Piccolo reminded. "Oh right." Goku remembered and reordered. "Quick Krillin, take him to Bulma." "Ha, looks like there's two kind of fisting in this city now." Silence. "Pretty sure he's bleeding to death," Piccolo said with a frown on his face. "All right fine." Krillin finally shut up before lifting Yamcha's body over his shoulder. "Bulma'll get it." "Man, seeing that hole in the chest kind of makes my chest hurt," Goku said, "like a lot. Anybody else?" "So then, you guys must be the androids," Naruto stated to the old man in number 19. Shocked, the old man asked, "What? Impossible, how did you know we were androids?" "Scanning. Probabilities, scanning, scanning," number 19 responded, and he started to beep before his scan was done. "Processing complete. They are psychic, 92.4% static, they can see the future." "Psychic the old man asked before his eyes started to turn red. "Well then I bet you won't expect this." Finishing his statement, he started shooting lasers randomly around the city, hitting buildings that were sure to have targets inside. Goku demanded he ceased this attack, but with the old man refusing, Goku moved in to punch him in the face that did nothing if not tilt the man's head slightly, causing his fat to fall off. The old man walked and picked up his hat and placed it back on his head and looked at Goku. "I see you found the off switch to my ocular vapor beams is in my cheek, but you're too late. The entire population of the city has been reduced to ash." Glaring at Goku, he finished his statement. "Now no one shall interfere with my revenge." "Actually, I'm pretty sure you only." "Yes, the entire population," Piccolo interrupted Goku, who realized what was happening. "Oh right," Goku quickly corrected. "You are most unkind. We really should move this though," Naruto said, while Tien, agreeing with him, asked a question. "Hey Piccolo, you know any good wastelands?" "Why are you asking me?" "You know why," Tien replied with a straight face, causing Piccolo to look blankly at him and sigh in defeat. "Northwest, about 100 miles. Then it's a date," Goku said, and the group took off in a burst of ki to the location, with Goku leading the fray, something Krillin noticed from where he was. With Krillin noticing his friend flying, Krillin announced, "Hey look. Goku and the others are leaving with the androids." "Oh no, we have to warn them," Yamcha exclaimed in panic. "When the old man was holding me, I could feel my life force draining." "You were losing a lot of blood." "No, it was coming out of my mouth." "Gross. I'm telling you, they can absorb energy." "Then we have to go now." Gohan said before taking off in a burst of ki with Krillin closely following, and suddenly Yamcha had second thoughts. You know what? I might just sit this one out, he said, causing Krillin to look back and respond to his friend. Oh yeah, I get ya, he said before turning towards where the battle was taking place. I never have any energy after I get a hand job from Marin. Quote. Pada pa pada bye. Krillin mimics a Mario tune before following Gohan, who was having a lead on him, leaving Yamcha with Kuma, his mother and his brother. Mom, what's a hand job? Quote. Hold on Krillin, I'm coming, Yamcha suddenly said before taking off after Krillin completely ignoring the fuming mother behind him. With the fighters, the group arrived their destination before landing with Goku panting a bit. All right, now that we're out of the city we can pant. Does it feel hot out here, guys? Goku asked as he interrupted Piccolo's speech, something that greatly annoyed the Namekian. As I was saying, Piccolo continued moments later, we can finally get this on the way, but first, who are you and what do you want? Referring to the two strangers in front of him. You don't need to know why, just know that I despise every one of you, the old man said to the group. But allow me to shed a little light for you. For the last 14 years, ever since the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament, my insectoid nanobug has been surveying and processing every battle you have fought, rating them on a scale of 1 to 10. The old man explained, much to the shock of the Z fighters except Naruto, who has dealt with something similar to this before in the name of Zetsu. Looks like you got a stalker, bro, Naruto said with a smirk as he crossed his hands over his chest. Out of curiosity, what was our score? Tien asked in an related question. 6.5 out of 10. The mime responded. How about mine? Piccolo asked. 8 out of 10. Ha ha. I have utilized this information to calibrate ourselves appropriately. We are now powerful enough to take Son Goku and get revenge on myself and what he did to the Red Ribbon Army. The old man finished his monologue, causing Naruto to sigh. Why do villains even have monologues? Naruto asked the group. There's Obit, Gaara, Sasuke, Frieza, and now this old man. I have no idea who the other three are, Piccolo said to Naruto, but I have another question. Looking to the old man, was it on Namek? Of course it was. The old man turned to the mime. Number 19, what the hell is Namek? Data not found. Number 19 replied. What do you mean? Data not found. The old man asked. Insectoid nanobug destroyed during Saiyan attack. Number 19 replied. So, I guess you've never seen a Super Saiyan then. Piccolo continued with a smirk, seeing the old man's discomfort. Number 19. The old man asked, turning to the mime again. Data not found. Then no. Goku. Piccolo called out, wanting to put the fear of God in the old man. On it. Goku said, and with a deep breath, ignoring his fever, he started to build up his energy with a yell. Ha! Following that was an explosion of energy and a bright light, and once that died, they looked to see Son Goku in his Super Saiyan form, standing proud and a bit worn out. Power output precedes projective parameters, 19 stated to his master. I don't care if you're a Super Saiyan or a soup on the side. The old man growled. He then gave an order. 19, kill him proper. Executing Mortardotex. 19 stated, getting into a ready position. Loading, 10%, 20%, 40%, 70%, 65%. What? The old man demanded after he heard the reduction. A failure has occurred. This program will now shut down, the mime said in his robotic voice, and you could hear the Windows XP error alert ping. That's familiar to us. Would you like to send a report? No, don't send a report. Sending report. 19 said. Son of a whore. The old man shouted as he was frustrated at this occurrence before turning to the fighters. Now to wait 5 minutes to do absolutely nothing. Bam, crash. The mime was sent to the mountain behind him by a punch from Goku, who had no time to waste, much to the old man's shock. Oh bullocks. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he was watching Goku beat the bloody shit out of the android in front of him. He was quite sure that his brother had a lot more energy than this, so then why was he tired when we arrived and he transformed into a Super Saiyan? He then noticed something else. Something's wrong, he said to the group in a whisper. Goku should be doing more damage than this. It looks like the android is just taking everything Goku can dish out with no problems. Did you notice how he was suddenly out of breath when we arrived here? Piccolo asked before he sighed. He's going to need our help. Crash. Asterisk. The group looked up to see Goku panting as the android crashed on the ground below them while Goku remained suspended on the air. Came. Goku started to chant as he placed his cupped hands on his side, charging up a blue energy as he saw the android get up. Haim. Ha. The Kamehameha wave was fired at the android, who smirked for someone that was about to get crushed before he raised his palm, revealing two red dots at the middle before the attack connected. What the group except for Yamcha wasn't expecting was the android standing still, smirking at Goku with his hands still in the air. Mortardotex fully online. Number 19 stated. Good. Pant didn't seem to work. Goku said. Don't worry guys, I'll try again, double strength. Goku, don't. They can absorb your energy. Yamcha warned his friend, casing Goku to stop the chanting he already started. Crap, Naruto said as he saw the android appear in front of Goku with a smirk before he punched the Super Saiyan on the face, following with a drop kick sending Goku down to the earth, but Goku was able to recover before he reached the ground. He would have tried to catch his breath holding his chest where his heart was, causing Gohan to look in surprise. What's going on? He hasn't used that much energy. Krillin. Senzu Bean. Goku called before he received the bean from his friend and ate it, only to gasp in pain, falling down to his knees. It made it worse. Goku. What's wrong? Chest hurts. Hard to breathe. Goku said in between pants. How's your arm? Piccolo continued with the interrogation. Don't know. Can't feel it. Goku said. Is that normal? So Goku's having a heart attack, Piccolo analyzed with his results. Dad, you took the medicine right? Gohan asked his dying father, who replied. Yeah, I mean I started to, Goku corrected. Started to wait? You mean you stopped? Why did you stop? Gohan asked, demanded. Because it was grape flavored. Goku cried in pain before he was knocked out by the android, causing him to go to his base form. Did he just knock the Super Saiyan out of him? Krillin asked. Piccolo, tag in. Goku gasped until he saw that Piccolo was shot through the chest. Naruto, tag in. On it, Naruto said before he bent his knee and jumped, appearing in front of the android, giving it a punch to the jaw, sending it flying. Yamcha, take Goku to Chi-Chi and force him to restart his medication if he refuses to willingly take it himself. Naruto said before he took off his Haori and started to rotate his shoulder. Right, Yamcha agreed before he took Goku and flew away from the battlefield. Primary threat escaping. 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers. You know I'm standing right here. Naruto said as he watched the mime glance at him as he stood up from the attack before he continued to count, much to his shock. Am I being ignored? Don't worry, he's only programmed to respond to my command. The old man said to Naruto. 19. Forget about Son Goku, we can finish him at our leisure, for now focus on Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto introduced. Naruto Uzumaki. Understood. If you think that you expect me to be beaten by this thing, then you must not know me at all. Naruto said, stressing out the thing. Oh, but wait, I forgot, you don't. Your confidence is noted, Uzumaki, but Son Goku was able to achieve a form far beyond anything we've ever seen before, and we still beat him. The old man gloated with a smug look at the end. You seem to be forgetting something. Naruto said as he then took the horse stance, I'm not Goku. And with a flinch of his shoulder, he transformed into a Super Saiyan much to the shock of the old man. Seriously, what the is Namek? Do you feel that? Piccolo asked the group of fighters and it was Gohan who responded to his question. Yeah, his transformation feels different from Dad and I don't know how. Maybe it's because he doesn't feel any stronger. A voice asked and they looked up to see Vegeta floating above them. What do you mean Vegeta? When Kakarot was a Super Saiyan, I was able to feel his energy and could tell that his energy multiplied by a factor of 50. Vegeta explained, but when he just transformed, his power level still remained the same as he was before. It's like while he is a Super Saiyan, he isn't at the same time. Naruto ignored what Vegeta was saying and appeared in a flash of orange light before the android, giving it a punch in the gut before grabbing its face with his other hand and smashing it on the ground. His left leg was suddenly grabbed by the android, but Naruto saw that as an opportunity because he used his right to detach the left arm of the android from its body before crushing it with his amazing strength. Number 19 got up and aimed his good hand at Naruto before firing a purple beam right at his face, but Naruto quickly deflected the beam before it touched him. Tell me, do you feel fear? Naruto asked the android as he started stumbling back, but Naruto caught the android's other hand and proceeded to rip it off and crush it like he did to its previous arm. Naruto watched as the android fell on his before running away from him in fear. Something Naruto sighed at before he took flight and aimed his palm at the fleeing android, charging up a blue spiral energy. How the mighty have fallen, he said before a spiral ball was formed from his energy gathering. Try absorbing this. Cho Resentaho, Super Spiral Cannon. The big blue ball of spiral energy sailed towards the android before it made contact, completely shredding it and anything within the vicinity of the blast radius, leaving only its head. The old man looked on in fear and shock as his creation was easily destroyed and watched as Naruto powered down to his base form like it was nothing. I'm going to help take care of Goku, Naruto said to the group as he picked up his cloak and put it on, looking at the group, more specifically Vegeta, who scowled at him. Try not to mess things up. With that he bent his knees and took off with a burst of ki to his sister-in-law's house, planning on helping his brother recover from his illness so he might not be available for the whole fight. The others looked on as Naruto flew away from them while Vegeta just angrily huffed before speaking up. Looks like I'm going to have to take care of the old man since you worthless are too weak to do that on your own. He insulted before he looked to where old man was, only to see nothing there. Where the hell did he go? Rocks, rocks, oh and what a surprise, more rocks. Vegeta muttered as he looked from left to right, hovering on the air. He and the other fighters including Gohan were looking for the android that got away right after Naruto left to take care of Goku. The search was getting tiring and Vegeta was getting frustrated. To hell with this. He fired an energy ball to the mountains, planning to destroy it in order to draw the man out, but he had no idea that his attack would be absorbed by said old man, who was looking at him with a smirk before he retreated like the scared weakling he was. Get back here, you insufferable old man, Vegeta ordered before he followed the same path the old man took, and with the way his ki flared as his anger was breached was enough to get the other fighters to know the general location of where he was heading. Did you feel that? Tien asked the group as they flew. Yeah, it seems that Vegeta's gotten a lot stronger, Krillin said. What if he's become a Super Saiyan like Goku? Impossible, Piccolo said as he too was flying. You have to be of pure heart and remain calm in order to achieve the legend, Piccolo theorized from what he saw so far. But I wouldn't be one to dismiss the possibility just yet, Tien said. I mean, it was a year and a half ago that we last saw him and he could have become one within that time frame. I'm just glad that Bulma doesn't want to let him stay at her parents' house, Gohan said, worrying about his cousin's life. I wouldn't like it if anything were to happen to both Kuma and Trunks' lives. Yeah, you and me both, Piccolo said before they all flew with an extra burst of ki to the location the group felt Vegeta's energy last. With Vegeta, arg! Vegeta yelled in anger, releasing his aura around the area, thinking of the implications of what just happened. I just had to give him that energy. A mistake like that is inexcusable and more on Kakarot's level, how could I be so careless? Panting a bit before calming himself, Vegeta started to tilt his head left and right, looking for the old man that dared stole his energy, unaware that the old man was currently standing poised upside down on the edge of the underside of a mountain behind him. That's right, you brat. Get angry and lose all the calm you had once before exposing yourself to me. He thought, enjoying the sight of a frustrated Vegeta biding his time before he disappeared from the obvious area and appeared in a more secure location. At least to him, fighting right now is a really high risk, though that's why I need to charge my batteries before facing one such as him. Glancing a bit to the right, he saw Gohan looking for him. No, he would give away my location too easily. Glancing diagonally downwards, he saw Tien in between some narrow rocks. No, the resulting explosion will draw others to me, though I could have loved to steal some of his energy. Glancing to the left, directly perpendicular from his position, he saw Piccolo, whom he thought was the strongest next to Vegeta. Perfect. He silently floated to the unsuspecting Piccolo before he rushed at the Namekian and locked his body over Piccolo's, halting any movement and noise. One down, the old man said into Piccolo's ear as he started to drain the energy from Piccolo bit by bit, taking his time, but Piccolo had one trick up his sleeve. Gohan, can you hear me? Oh god, this feels amazing. That's not Gohan, Piccolo thought, hearing Vegeta's thoughts. First thing I'm gonna do when I get home is step in front of a full-length mirror, strip, turn Super Saiyan. Gohan, Gohan, Gohan. Damn, I wish I was a Saiyan. Damn it, not again. Then I could have all the stamina I need and more to take on an entire country of Slu. You heard nothing. Tien threatened as he felt Piccolo intrude in his mental defense. Damn it, Piccolo screamed, frustrated. Gohan, this old man's got me from behind and... Oh my, a queer voice replied to Piccolo's plea before an annoyed voice cut him up. How do people keep coming on this line? Feeling the energy finally drain from him, Piccolo growled in frustration before his hand was becoming weak as he was hearing the old man's laughter in his ear before the old man was forcibly removed by a kick that threw his hat off his head. Gohan pant, how did you? You two were hanging in the middle of the air. Gohan blandly replied, how could I not see you? Don't you pant sass me. Piccolo warned in between pants. Look who finally installed a pair. A voice said, causing the old man to look back in fear as he heard the voice of Vegeta, and as he turned around, he cursed seeing the familiar faces of the other Z fighters that surrounded him. Well crap, the old man said, completely seeing the disadvantage he was currently in, but he had an idea. So much to choose, so little time. He said with a sigh, confusing some of the members of the group. Oh, I know, how about I fight the Namekian first? Knowing that the Namekian wasn't in any condition to fight him. And with the energy I drained from you, I currently have as much as you. Krillin, Senzu Bean, Senzu Bean, Senzu Bean, Senzu Bean. Krillin threw the bean to Piccolo, who caught it and ate it, recovering the energy that was drained by the doctor before he tossed away his turban and his cape, both hitting the ground with a thud. Bring it, old man, Piccolo said, getting ready to fight. Hey, the android is mine, Namekian, why don't you go find your own? Vegeta shouted to the Namekian. I just thought you wouldn't want to sully your hands on such an unworthy opponent. Piccolo calmly retorted, forcing Vegeta to think a bit. You know, the funny thing is that I know you're playing me, but you're right. Vegeta said, crossing his hands over his chest with a smirk, knowing that he had something up his sleeve should things go south. He's all yours. By all means, Namekian, the old man said. I've already consumed enough energy from him to match high smack crash. The old man was sent flying to the wall behind him with a knee kick from Piccolo, who smirked at the advantage he had. Meanwhile, Oh my god, Xiaosu's dead. Trunks said as he arrived at the empty scene. Z warriors fought last before moving deep into the mountains, and he really let himself go. Looking closely he saw that the head, while it looked like Xiaosu, was fatter and had wires coming out of its neck. Before putting two and two together, that's not Xiaosu. Before he sighed in realization, oh crap. Back to the fight minutes later. The old man charged at Piccolo with his hands stretched, but Piccolo sidestepped the charge before chopping him on the neck, sending him crashing on the mountain below them. But the old man wasn't done as he quickly recovered. Okay, first. What? Second. You know I did spend 3 years training with Goku. Oh, so what? The old man demanded. Are you a Super Saiyan too? Well, more of a Super Namekian, I guess. Piccolo said. Quote, quote. So you're not a Smash. Asterisk. The old man was sent again, crashing to the ground with an elbow from Piccolo, and Vegeta just looked on, confused at this. Anyone else feel like we overtrained for this? Tell me about it. No. Shut up. Vegeta silenced Krillin, who just obeyed the command, and the group were too distracted to see the old man try to grab Piccolo, keyword being try. Smirking down at his opponent as he held the hand of the old man, Piccolo spoke. You know, I never understood why you even bothered installing pain receptors. Comes out as an intentional design flaw if you ask me. Don't you dare criticize my genius like you understand the neural system. The old man growled. Pain is imperative to recognize when you are in peril, to give the human mind crunch. Asterisk. Contextually speaking, how are you? Piccolo asked, holding the severed hand of the old man. You lime-colored Sunovabitch. The old man growled. It's going to take me at least 2 hours to program a new arm. Wait, I'm right-handed. 3 hours. He held his now stumped right hand in pain. What did I ever do to you? Pretty sure you wiped out an entire city. Piccolo drawled out. I meant recently. That was 2 hours ago. Semantics. The old man said, and just then, Trunks arrived to the scene. Sorry I'm late. The time machine is a little unprecise in terms of hours, and what the hell is that thing? Trunks finally noticed the old man. Trunks, what are you doing here? Piccolo asked, shocked at the arrival. Huh, that's a girl's name. Wait, isn't that the name of Bulma's kid? Krillin asked. So what you're saying is that this boy is Uzumaki's kid from the future? Vegeta suddenly demanded. Well, that cat's out of the bag. Trunks said. But seriously, what is that? Still referring to the old man. That's the android, Piccolo stated. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, I am. Stay out of this. Trunks yelled at the old man. Wait, so you're saying that that's not the android that kills us? Tien asked Trunks. No, I don't even. But you said 2 androids, right? Krillin asked. And we've been fighting too. Tien said. I know what I said, but I'm telling you, that's not the android. Why didn't you tell us what they looked like then? Vegeta demanded. I only ever met the 2. Well, look at that. So did we. Hey guys. Bulma greeted from the car she was in, along with her 2 sons and Yajirobe, who was driving. And now the woman's here. Bulma, no. Gohan shouted. Did she bring me? Trunks asked, noticing the baby in the car that she was on. And there's my door, the old man said before he fired multiple pink energy blasts at the ship with the wave of his hand. Bulma, Kuma, Gohan cried. Trunks moved as fast as he could to save the 2 inside, but he was lucky that Kuma helped baby Trunks because he was scared when he didn't see the baby. Where are my babies? Bulma was looking around for both her children when she sat Kuma sheltering a crying baby Trunks, and what followed was her sigh of relief. Crap, the old man escaped. Tien growled. Crafty little android. Vegeta growled. Thanks to that idiot woman, we now have no possible way of locating the android. What android? Bulma asked, confused at what they were saying. That old man. Piccolo replied. That's no android, that was Dr. Gero. Bulma explained. I've seen his picture before in one of my dad's science magazines, but of course, it looks like he's changed since then. Hey kid, that android we fought was Dr. Gero, Piccolo said to Trunks, who was still monitoring Kuma and his younger self, but hearing that, his head snapped at attention. Dr. Gero, he whispered in thought. Dr. Gero, how could you possibly know a thing like that? Vegeta demanded. I know what I saw, you arrogant. It was a picture of that old guy in one of my dad's science magazines, and underneath it in bold letters was, Dr. Gero. Bulma stressed out to the Saiyan prince, who scoffed at her tone. As much as I want to fight Uzumaki, it will have to wait. Vegeta stated, still pissed at the audacity of this bitch. We have more important things to worry about. The timeline must have shifted when I traveled here from the future. Trunks theorized with his hand on his chin. It does explain why the doctor is still alive though. Maybe in your timeline where this so-called doctor was killed by the androids and left to die, here, he managed to save himself and shut of the androids that killed him so he could control them better. Kuma theorized, surprising the group at the amount of genius he just showed. That could be where the timeline started to diverge, if anything, making this an alternate timeline from yours. He looked up to see dumbfounded looks pointed at him, and he scratched his head in embarrassment. I watch Doctor Who. Oh. The group nodded in understanding, while Bulma was proud at how smart her son was, though she did notice the look he was giving Trunks and baby Trunks as if trying to figure something out. Smart kid you got there, Bulma. Tien commented. What can I say? It's in the genes, Bulma proudly declared with her hands on her hips. So the two androids that are in suspension could be the ones that you spoke about, since it's been stated that they nearly killed him in this timeline where they killed him in yours. Am I right? Piccolo asked. Possibly, but there's only one way to find out, and to do that, we will need the location of the doctor's lab. Trunks said. Something that we have no idea of. Tien said. I know where it is. Bulma suddenly said, much to the group's shock. Really? Trunks asked. Yeah, she replied, then she placed her finger on her lip in thought. Meanwhile, easy there, Goku, Naruto said as he tried to calm his brother down because of the way the situation was getting. It was getting worse, and it pained him to know that there wasn't a medic around to help him with a recovery, and even if they were able to find one, none of the medics in this time, as observed by him, didn't have the correct equipment to help. Unless, I have to go, Naruto said as he immediately stood up from his spot, surprising Chi-Chi and Yamcha. Where are you going? Your brother is lying in his sickbed and you're not staying to help him recover. What kind of person are you? Naruto ignored this insult from Chi-Chi and went to the door, picking up his cloak from the rack and putting it on before turning around and speaking up. If my plan works, then Goku might be able to recover faster. That was all he said before he left the house and disappeared with a flash to his destination, hoping that his plan will work. Back to the other fighters. So that's where it is. Krillin said to himself. New plan. Now that we have the whereabouts of the lab, we can destroy the androids before he can have any chance in activating it. Piccolo said. Sorry Namekian, but I like a challenge unlike you, so your plan doesn't sit well with me. Vegeta said before he flew to the location in a burst of ki. How can he be so confident? Tien asked. I mean, he's not even a Super Saiyan, so what hope does he have in beating the androids? I don't know, but from the way he's been acting he might as well be. Piccolo stated. Are we going into this again? Krillin asked, knowing where this argument was heading. Aren't you supposed to be doing something? Kuma asked, snapping the fighter's attention back to the task at hand. Thanks for the reminder, kid. Piccolo said before he followed Vegeta with a similar burst of ki, prompting the others to do the same except Trunks, who was pulled back to the ground by Kuma, and Gohan, who was thinking about something. Excuse me, but I have somewhere to be. Trunks said to his older brother, who was currently younger than him, so it could be his younger brother. Just want to wish you good luck, Shrimp, Kuma said with a smirk that caused Trunks to flinch in shock. How did you Please, do you have any idea who you're dealing with? Kuma slyly asked, much to Bulma's confusion. What's going on? She asked, and Kuma decided to answer her question, introducing the teen. Mum, meet my little brother from 20 years in the future. Little brother? Wait, Trunks. Bulma exclaimed in shock before turning to said teen in question and started blabbing about how handsome and strong he had gotten and so on and so forth, much to Trunks' embarrassment, who decided to stop it as there are more pressing issues at hand. I'm sorry I have to cut this short, Mum, but I have something important to deal with first, he said, and Kuma nodded in understanding before he turned and flared his aura. Kick there, Kuma simply said as a parting message to his little brother's future self, who smiled in appreciation before taking off to the air, following the path the fighters took to the doctor's lab. Well, I'm off to see Dad, Gohan said moments later after the silence, but Bulma's voice made him halt. Wait, she called. How am I supposed to go? Well, you could always ask Kuma to carry you. Can't, Kuma said, pointing to his little brother. Besides, I might as well check how Uncle Goku is doing as well. Following that, Kuma took off with his little brother in his hand while Gohan was left to the task of carrying Bulma, something he sighed before carrying her, all the while forgetting that there was one more person they forgot. Hello, anyone there? Poor Yajirobe didn't know that the group abandoned him to his fate. Maybe he should change his lazy ways. Nah, he kinda likes it this way. With Dr. Gero, just a little bit further, the doctor said as he was running between the narrow paths of the mountains, knowing he was in hope of reaching his lab in one piece. He turned around a corner and froze in shock, seeing the body of Vegeta floating on the sky with his head tilting left and right, searching for the doctor. What? How the hell did he find me? He thought in shock before calming down. Okay, it's just a little setback after all, there's more than one pathway to the Sunovich. He thought in panic as he saw Tien as well before he looked behind him and saw Piccolo as well. Damn it. There's no way that they should be able to find my lab's location, unless they know one of the brief. Shit. Meanwhile, with Krillin stealthily moving along the rocks, Krillin looked left and right for the android that was now known as Dr. Gero. He was about to jump, but he felt his leg being grabbed before his body was forcefully slammed on the ground below him, causing him to wince in pain before he was kneed in the gut, drawing blood from his mouth. Dr. Gero smirked in satisfaction as he saw the body of his prey twitch in pain at the damage he inflicted. I'm almost shocked at how easy you made this, but it is to be expected as I am dealing with the weakest of the group. He insulted his downed opponent before turning around and running to his lab that was around the corner. Good, I made it, and with time to spare, to seeing as he was the only one that was close enough to point out the location of. Hey guys, I found Dr. Gero's lab, Krillin shouted, causing Gero to freeze before he snapped his head to the bald midget. How the hell did you Senzu bean? Krillin blandly said. Those blasted beans. The doctor muttered to himself. I see, well, could you wait outside a bit? I have something I want to show you, and I'm afraid it's at the other end of the door. Sure, I'll wait, Krillin said before humming to himself, and then moments later his eyes widened in realization. Ah crap, it's the androids. I can't believe that actually worked, the doctor said to himself before walking to the two human-sized tubes in front of him that were labeled 17 and 18. His hand traced the tubes before he removed it with a sigh in resignation. It actually fills me with great shame that I have to resort to numbers 17 and 18, though I hope things will actually go smoothly this time. With a hiss, the tube of 17 opened slowly, emitting smoke before it cleared, revealing a young teenage boy with black shoulder-length hair and an orange scarf on his neck, lying in the tube with his eyes closed. As they opened, you could see the deadly blue eyes that laid underneath the eyelids, but the once malicious streak that was there previously was all but lost. Walking out of his tube, the teenage android greeted in a robotic voice that lacked the feelings of a human, contradicting what he was technically. Hello Dr. Gero, how are you today? Well, that's new. I'm just messin' with you, man. The android said in his usual casual and cool voice that had the feeling that the doctor was expecting. What's up, Doc? Oh, there it is. Referring to the tone of voice the android suddenly spoke in. Good morning, Android 17. Man, according to my database, it's been a while since you've last turned us off. The android said, specifically talking about him and his sister. You mean since you tried to destroy me? The old man corrected. Yeah, Doc, and I'm real broken up about that. The teen apologized. It's that every time you talk I hear, kill me. Kill me. Something with my auditory. Think it's gone though. Well, suppose you just needed to be turned on and off again. The doctor said to the teen with a smirk. How about that? The teen said before glancing to the pod that was labeled 18 inches. You gonna wake my sister up then? Indeed, I require both of your assistance. The doctor replied as he pressed the button on the pod labeled 18. Wow, must have got yourself in some shit. 17 sassed to the doctor, who growled. Indeed. The android designated as 18 was revealed to be a beautiful blonde with similar looks to her brother, only wearing a jeans skirt and a sleeveless jeans jacket over a pair of leggings and a white long-sleeved striped shirt that was under a black vest. Good morning, Dr. Jero. How are? I already did it, 18. We were supposed to do it together. The female android said, referring to their mimicry of answering machines before she turned to the doctor. What do you want? Well, I would like your assistance in taking care of the pests that are currently knocking down our door. The doctor said, after an incident today, I lost number 19 and... Wait a sec, you built another android? 18 asked with a surprised tone. Wait, was it that fat clown thing? Number 17 asked. I thought that was a joke. Well, clearly it was. It's dead now. And so are we if you don't. Whoa, slow down. 17 pacified the angry doctor. Are you an android? Holy shit, he's an android. 18 answered the question with a look of disgust in her face. How did you even do that? 17 asked. I took my brain and put it into this body. The doctor stated as if it was the simplest thing in the world. How? 18 stressed. Well, how did I do that? The doctor asked himself, but then remembered the people at the door. 17, 18, you two are charged with eliminating those pests. You know, I'll get right on that, but first we gotta talk about these trust issues, 17 said with his eyes closed, because I get this strange feeling that after we kill them you're just going to turn us off again, and I don't even know how. Why, with this remote, of course. Dr. Jero stupidly declared, holding the remote in his good hand that was snatched by 17 really fast. Oh, you mean this remote? Well, you see, that is a decoy remote. I wouldn't show you the real thing. The doctor lied smoothly, but I do need that remote back. It was my mother's. Oh, don't you worry. I'm going to hold on to it real tight. 17 said before crushing the remote with his hands, accidentally. Whoops. Did your hand just malfunction, bro? I think it did, sis. Just then the doors were blasted inwards by a blast, and its culprit was standing with his hand stretched and smoke coming out of his gloved hand. There, now was that so hard? Vegeta rhetorically asked the group before noticing the extra company. I take it that these two are the androids that we've heard so much about. Gosh, he's noisy. 18 said, insulting Vegeta before noticing a pod. What's this? You built another android. No, do not touch that pod. The female smirked at the way the doctor responded to this action and listened as her twin brother spoke. Wow, from the way you must be reacting, this guy must be really fun to hang out with, and according to my database, I am currently stronger than him. That's not the point. Jero growled. 16 is mentally unstable to be activated. Doing so now will only. All the more reason to activate him. 17 said. And seriously, doctor, what is your definition of mentally unstable? 18 pondered. You mean unable to take orders from you? He needs to have a well-built-in processor like 19 before. 19 that was previously destroyed. 17 cut the doctor before he could go any further. Enough of this, I'm opening the pod. 18 said, walking over to the switch opening the pod, but she was held down by Jero. No you don't, Jero shouted. I order you to smash. Did you just touch me? 18 asked as she looked at the doctor whom she just elbowed. I think it's time to permanently shut you down. I completely agree sis. 17 said from his spot looking at the sputtering Dr. Jero. In fact, I'll get on that. What are you Crash? The doctor looked to his back seeing the body of 17 as his hand was pierced through the doctor's chest. W. What have you done? The Z warriors just watched in shock as the android stabbed the doctor through the chest before he removed the hand and gave a roundhouse kick to his head, knocking the doctor's head off his body, tumbling towards the door where the Z warriors stood. 17 walked to the head and looked at it as it was spluttering nonsense before he stepped on it with his foot, crushing it completely and finally killing the doctor before smirking and looking up at the Z warriors and noticed the purple-haired teen that just landed looking at him in fear. He walked back to his sister who was standing by the pod labeled 16, seemingly waiting for him before he spoke. Open the chamber. I won't let that happen. Trunks yelled in anger and powered up to his max, indirectly turning into a Super Saiyan, much to the shock of the fighters around him, but that didn't matter to him as he charged a blast before firing a spiral blue beam into the lab, causing it to explode, forcing the fighters to duck for shelter. Looking down, Trunks hoped that his blast destroyed the androids, as that was his strongest and most intense blast, but he was shocked to see that the two survived it with the female holding the pod over her head like it was nothing. How could they survive that? Trunks whispered in shock. Maybe you just didn't try hard enough. Vegeta said before turning fully to the teen, and why didn't you tell us that you were a Super Saiyan? Remember, Vegeta and Trunks never revealed that they were Super Saiyans, so it is logical for Vegeta to be surprised at the sudden change, as will the others be once they find out that Vegeta is a Super Saiyan. Forget about that. We have more pressing matters to deal with. Trunks angrily dismissed to the prince, who didn't like being dismissed like a common peasant. He's right, Vegeta, Piccolo said to the prince, referring to the androids still alive. Vegeta said before glancing back to the androids. Hurry up sis, 17 said. I'm eager to see what the doctor has been hiding. 18 dropped the pod and walked to the big red button on the side and pressed it, rise and shine. The pod opened to reveal a young healthy adult with 2 lines on each side of his nose. He had a long shoulder-length black hair that was tied into a ponytail. He wore a long-sleeve black muscle shirt with a V-neck, and underneath it was a mesh vest. He also wore a pair of black trousers over a pair of white socks and black sandals. His eyes opened to reveal a pair of dark red eyes with a pinwheel design in the middle before it morphed into one with 3 tones over a ring before the red eyes faded and turned black. Reaching over to the edge of the pod with his hand, the new android rose up from the pod before reaching into it, revealing a black cloak with white outlines and a hood, revealing the other side of the coat being colored white. He put it on over his clothes and glanced over to the fighters that were assembled on the air in front of him before glancing to 17 and 18. Holy crap, that's one scary-looking android, Krillin said. Dr. Jero, being alive this time, used the opportunity to create more androids. Trunks theorized, in part fear after he calmed down. Whereas in my timeline, him being dead prevented that. How can you be so calm? Krillin demanded out of fear. My father explained that being calm helps in situations like this. Oh, like how you were calm before. Vegeta couldn't help but jab at this and enjoyed when the teen winced. I have to apologize for my rash decision. None needed, Piccolo said. I understand where you're coming from. With the androids. So tell us, how long have you been trapped in that pod? 17 asked calmly. Quote. Do you know why the doctor deemed you as mentally unfit to be activated? 18 asked while the android glanced at her direction with his black eyes before closing them, much to her frustration. Sai*16, what is your designated mission? 17 asked. To destroy Son Goku. 16 replied in a calm and collected voice. So you can talk. 17 mocked, trying to get a rise out of the android. The doctor must have programmed him to respond only to commands relating to his mission, 18 theorized. Let's bail. This place is boring. 17 said before he floated into the air with his sister and 15 following before taking off in a direction opposite the fighters. Meanwhile at Kami's lookout, Naruto stood in front of Mr. Popo with a stare. Mr. Popo just stared right back at the black-haired Saiyan with his creepy smile. Escus, silence maggot, Mr. Popo ordered with his smile still on his face. It is time to introduce you to the pecking order. Naruto looked on with a growl. He didn't have time to deal with this, but unfortunately Mr. Popo doesn't give a shit.